Yeah, so I almost got robbed. If you guys follow me on TikTok or Instagram, then you're probably aware that I almost got robbed. Living in my apartment yesterday. This is not clickbait, and I tend to crack jokes during uncomfortable situations. So if I try to make a joke out of this, it's just how I process weird situations. Yeah, so yesterday I was working at my desk, and this was around 2 o'clock on Thursday, August 5th, and I get a buzz on my door. So if you guys live in New York City, you live in an apartment, typically you have a buzzer like right by your door, and that's to let anyone in that either needs to make deliveries or get into the apartment. So typically when you have a doorman, then your doorman typically will call in, which is what I had before when I lived in my apartment in Chelsea. Right now I live in a pre-war building that is a walk-up that doesn't have a doorman. So basically what that means is that when someone comes into the apartment, you are basically in charge of letting that person in, whatever. So there are 3 buttons on my call pad, whatever you want to call it. The first button is to talk to the person, the second one is to listen to the person, and the third one is to buzz them in. I live in a pretty safe neighborhood, I would say so. It's a nice neighborhood. All of my neighbors know each other. Everyone in the building mostly works from home or is home during the weekdays. So to be honest, I didn't really think that much about it. We also all get a lot of deliveries now that it is 2021 and we rely on capitalism with Amazon, and I do get a lot of PR packages. So I made the mistake of buzzing this person in without asking why they were coming in. Now, before you guys get all like defensive about why I did this, because I did wake up to like 300 TikTok criticism comments about me buzzing this person in. I get a lot of packages. Sometimes I don't know which package is coming in. I also sometimes will get someone that will buzz in for one of my neighbors. Let's say my neighbor isn't there to answer their buzzer and they have a delivery coming in. The delivery people usually will buzz every apartment in the building, and I don't want any of my neighbors to not get any of their packages because that's happened to me too. So naturally, again, connecting the dots, nice neighborhood, everyone's working from home, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's bright out. I didn't think that much about it, so I buzzed this person in. So then I didn't really think that much about it because I thought that this person was just gonna drop off the package and leave, but Brody tends to sit by the door if he feels like someone is coming into the apartment. So I noticed he was sitting there, and then I heard a shuffle and a knock on my door, which I thought was weird because then I realized that that person was not just dropping off a package. Now, I'm pretty close with my neighbor Kirsten, who lives on my floor, and we hang out throughout the day because we work from home and humans need to socialize. So I thought maybe she knocked on my door to just talk. So I went to the door, and I always have a habit of peeping through the door window, which thankfully I did before I opened the door, and I saw that it was someone that I didn't recognize. This person was, I want to say, about 6 foot tall, maybe like 230 pounds, and was wearing a blue shirt, like a blue collared maintenance shirt. Like it looked like it would have been a uniform, and it said NYC on it in white font. I asked who it was, and he said that he was New York City home inspector and that he was sent here from the city to check on my home and to make sure that the home was okay. Now, at first, I wasn't totally shocked if a home inspector was coming to our building because ironically, I was just talking to my friend Kirsten about the structuring of our building. I live in an 1864 built building. It's very old. The floors are slanted. If you've watched any of my videos or my apartment tour, you know my floors are slanted. Some of the foundation is kind of wonky on this building, and so I wouldn't be surprised if someone did want to inspect my house, but I, listened to my gut and I thought it was weird because if someone was to come here and check the foundation about the apartment, typically your landlord would let you know, or you would receive a call or a letter that someone was coming between a certain period and that you should be expecting them. So I didn't open my door and I told the guy that my apartment was fine and that everything was fine. And then he was like, okay. And he had a clipboard on him and he kind of like checked a box on his clipboard and then walked away. Immediately after this guy left my apartment, I texted my friends that live in the apartment and asked each and one of them, did you get a person that knocked on your door just now and asked about your inspection of your apartment? Because I would assume that if someone was inspecting the apartment, they would want to know about all the apartments, not just mine. And they all told me no. So that was weird. And then after that, I emailed my landlord and I asked them if they had sent a home inspector to check on the property. They told me they did not and that I should inform the police, and they were also going to inform the police as well. And they also CC'd my super and maintenance crew on the response email. So if you guys aren't familiar, in New York City, most buildings, apartment buildings, will have an assigned super. Either they live in the building or they live close by, and then there's also a maintenance team. The super you want to think about is kind of like the house mom, house dad, and they're there to basically make sure that if anything's broken in the building, that they're there to fix it right away. So I know who my super is, I know who the maintenance person is, and I did not recognize that person that came to my door. So I called the local precinct and I asked them, I said, does New York City send out like union officers to check on buildings? Because landlords are kind of sketchy. So I really wouldn't be surprised if my landlord didn't know and the city funded some secret union that I didn't know about to send people out to check on people's houses. But the cops were like, no, they don't do that. That's weird. And this is definitely weird. Basically, he took like my file report and said that they were going to follow up on it and asked if there was any security footage in my apartment. Luckily, in the entrance of my apartment, we do have a camera that checks in on people coming in and out. And hopefully they get it resolved soon. Now, after I posted this story on TikTok, I got a lot of comments from people saying that, one, this happens all the time. You should never answer your door for anyone pretending to be a cop, a FedEx employee, a home inspector, a Verizon employee, whatever, if you did not know that they were coming before. I also got a lot of comments that were criticizing me for buzzing this person in. And I also got a lot of people that were very upset because apparently this is how people get robbed and sexually assaulted in their building. And I totally understand all the comments to that, and I take fault in letting this person in. Just so you guys know, I already left a memo or a note on my hallway so all of my neighbors know about this, and in the future I'm gonna make sure that I definitely press the button and talk to the person before I ask why they are coming in. But if you think about it, there are so many apartments in New York City and so many delivery people coming in and out that even if you did ask the person why they were coming in, they could easily just say they're Amazon. So I have some tips for you guys if you want to know how to protect yourself in this situation. The first one that I got a tip from one of my comments over here, thank you for commenting this, is that if you have an Amazon delivery coming in, you should ask the person what the package is from, who the package is from, and who is it for. Because if you can ask where it's coming from, then it can help you secure that in the future. Another thing that I would definitely just make sure that you're proactive about is if it is a home inspector, I would ask them which home inspection company they are with, and then I would call their landlord. Now, I was totally caught off guard with all of this, so I just didn't really think of that. The third thing I would make sure to obviously do is never to answer your door. This is just kind of like a common thing that I don't do, because when I was 3 years old and I was living in San Diego, my parents and I were living in an apartment, and my dad was actually out of town for work at the time, and someone came over to sell something. I forget what they were selling, but my mom answered the door, and the person got pretty upset when she like didn't want to buy his candy or whatever, and she tried to shut the door, and the guy like held the door, and we had to like push it through. So ever since then, I've been traumatized about ever answering the door, even if I lived in a nice area. Apparently in the comments, like, robbers are more likely to try to target places where people live that are nicer areas, I guess. I never really thought of it like that. So that's definitely something that I'm gonna think about. Okay, next tip that I would also consider is definitely getting a pet. So I think if Brody wasn't living with me, that thing could have like gone a different way, because Brody automatically barks when I'm with him and he hears someone coming because he wants to protect me. But either way, I didn't answer the door. But if it makes you feel better, like, having a dog definitely helps. If you want another form of security, I made another video about if New York City is dangerous, and I talked about this birdie that I have. So as you guys know, in New York City, you are not allowed to have pepper spray or a taser. Like, you have to get pepper spray in the other tri-states like Connecticut or New Jersey. You cannot Amazon pepper spray here. I don't know why, because this is kind of the place where you would want pepper spray. So Birdie is actually a system to protect mainly women, but it's on your keychain, and you pull it out, and it makes basically like a rape whistle, and there's a light. Here, we can do it together. And it gets pretty loud. So that's something that I would consider getting if you just want to be more safe. Overall though, I'm not really nervous about it. I feel pretty safe in my neighborhood. I also feel like, I don't know how the guy's gonna get in, but I do have some concerns. You know, obviously, like, my life is on the internet, so that makes me a little nervous if I have a stalker. I definitely had a stalker last summer, but the person didn't live in New York. They lived out of state. But just be careful. Definitely make sure that you're just being cautious. And I thought this would be a great story to share with you guys, because a lot of you guys want to move to New York City and you just don't know all the time. So always be safe, never be sorry. And I definitely am going to make sure that when I buzz someone in, that I know who it is. If you guys want more tips about living in New York City and moving to New York City, we make videos every week that talks about just like that. So subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share this video with anyone else so they don't get robbed. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!